For every thought you have, there's a physiological correlate that goes with it. Depressed people have a different physiology than people that are not depressed. Anxious people have a different physiology than people that aren't anxious. So you say, well, I just think it. I don't do anything about it. Yes, you do. When you think it, you're doing something about it. Your body is changing. How do you think people get ulcers? Do you think calm people get ulcers? That's not how it works. There's physiological elements that go with every thought you have. So you've got to unclutter your mind. And that's why I said I wanted you to show up today with a pen and a pad. I want you to write down. You've got to make a list. That's how you get things out of your head. You get them out of your head if you put them on a piece of paper. You put them on a list. Then you think, okay, I don't need to remember them because I wrote them down right here, and I can fold this up and put it in the drawer. I can put it in my pocket. I can put it in the drawer. I don't need to remember it because I have it written down. I don't need to keep going over it in my mind. I have it on a list. And when I resolve it, I can cross it off the list. If you wake up in the middle of the night and you're thinking about it, put it on your list. Get it out of your head by putting it on the list. It doesn't do any good to just think about it. Put it on the list. You need to have a shit list of all the crap in your head. Just put it on the list. And when you put it on the list, you get it out of your head. Give yourself permission. And one of the things that you may need to do, if you are having trouble achieving what I'm asking you to do, is designate a time during the day where you're going to think about all this clutter in your head. So, okay, I pick the kids up from school at 4:30 or 3:30, or I get off work at the bank at 5. I'm going to close my office door and spend from 5 to 5:30. I'm going to devote it to my list. I'm going to spend that time worrying about everything that clutters up my mind. If that helps you to designate a time that I'm going to think about this stuff during that time, but no other time. That's my designated time to think about, worry about, fret about, obsess about, ruminate about, whatever you want to call it. If you need to designate a time to do that, then do it. But outside of that time, you do not permit yourself to go down that rabbit hole. You have to unclutter your mind. We are not going to get efficient. I said you can improve your efficiency 40% if you stop multitasking. It's more than turning off the TV. You've got to get this out of here. This is like elevator music. You don't really hear it until I say, okay, let's listen to you. You know, one of the things that is done with this, there's something called dialectical behavior therapy. One of the things they do is they try to get people to listen to their internal dialogue, and to the extent it's negative and self-defeating, they try to get them to change that. But they do one of the other things. Dr. Linehan came up with this, and I was so impressed with what she did here, because one of the things she did was to increase the client's distress tolerance. She said, look, everything's not going to get resolved in your life. You may have a sister that is just a troublemaker, and that may not get any better. So we want to increase your ability to tolerate certain things where they don't trigger you. We increase your distress tolerance. So putting all these things on the list doesn't mean they're going to all be resolved. It just means they're out of your head where you don't ruminate about them. That means just over and over and over thinking about them. So number one, we want to unclutter your mind. You can't stop multitasking and get this increased cognitive mental efficiency unless you unclutter your mind. So let's unclutter the mind. That means you got to sit down and think about, all right, what is it I think about? What is it that haunts me? What do I go over and over and over in my head? I'm going to write it down. It gives you some objectivity from it. And as I said, if you need to designate a time, but let's clean up your mind. Don't get caught in this guilt trap. Don't get caught carrying grudges, and don't get caught with the go-tos. Just doing what you always do because it's what you've always done. Don't do that. You can't change what you don't acknowledge. I always put this on myself. Well, then stop doing that. Acknowledge it and change it. Now, relationships. I said we're going to talk about your thinking and that we're going to talk about your relationships. I've been talking to you about boundaries, right? Social circle cleanup. Here's a good rule. Stop needing people that don't need you. You notice I paused for a minute because I want that to sink in. Stop needing people that don't need you. If you've got people in your life that they just don't pay attention to you, they don't value you, they don't treat you with dignity and respect, then you need to get over those people. And you say, well, Dr. Phil, that's easy to say. It's not easy to do. I didn't say it was easy to do. I just said it needs doing. Stop needing people that don't need you. I tell people, stop chasing the wrong one because the right one won't run. I grew up with 3 sisters, and, I was next to the youngest. Even when I was 12 years old, I would see my older sisters where they'd be chasing after some guy, and I would say, look, that's not who you want. How do you know that? You're 12. Because if he was the right one, he wouldn't be running away from you. The right one won't run. Quit chasing him. When he's the right one, they resonate with you. They click with you. They have chemistry, whether it's a friend or a lover. It doesn't matter. People that care about you, that value you, love you, they won't run from you. They will be drawn to you. You will bond. You will share things together. So clean up this social circle you're in. If you've got toxic people in it, clean it up. I'd rather be healthy alone than sick with somebody else, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you rather be healthy alone than in a toxic, sick, pathological, damaging relationship with somebody else? I would. I like me okay. I don't want to be alone, but if I'm going to do it, I'm not a bad person to do it with. Decide that about yourself. Because you won't be alone. There are people in this world for everybody. And I want you to become a discerning shopper. When it comes to relationships, you need to have some discernment.